What's up everyone, it's Austin here with Make Pop Music and Austin Hall Audio, and today we are back with another video. And for the video this week, I wanted to talk about something that I feel is extremely important for pop music, and that is coming up with a really solid vocal arrangement. So during the video today, I want to talk about why I'm choosing to make some of these vocal arrangement decisions, when we're actually going to implement those decisions within the arrangement, and how I'm going to execute those decisions within a full vocal arrangement and a full mix. I also want to chat a little bit today about some of my workflows and systems of actually producing vocals remotely, because I'm in Florida. However, I work with artists all around the world, so I kind of want to show you how I take like a lyric sheet and then kind of walk an artist through exactly what I'll need from their end, whether they're going to track themselves, they're going to head to a studio in their local area, basically everything that they'll need to know. So when they send me back their stems, I have everything that I need to kind of create the full vocal arrangement and vocal production that I see fit for the final song. With that said, if anybody has any questions about the video today, let us know in the comments down below and I'll answer as many of those as possible. If you do like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because all of that support helps us out a ton. And other than that, if you want to check out the song, it actually is released now. It's called Exhausting by my good friend Nick Vivar. So if you want to go check that out, there will be a link in the description if you enjoy the song during this tutorial. But let's actually go ahead and hop into the DAW so I can show you why, when, and how to execute a full vocal arrangement. Now we're actually into the session. I want to go ahead and kind of show you what the demo sounded like. One of the first things I like to do, especially if I'm producing remotely, is at least get a version where the artist can kind of sing it all the way through. And it could even just be something super simple like a voice memo on an iPhone. I don't really care. I just really like to know what the vocals are doing as I'm producing, so then when we do get to the point of vocal arrangement, I'm not just completely left in the dark. So here's basically the demo that I had from Nick. It's nothing crazy. It's just like acoustic guitar and then some basic production and just like a super tuned vocal from him. It sounds like this.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm caught off when I hear you say, come pull me closer than I want.
So as long as I can at least know what the vocals are doing, then I can produce a song to kind of cater to that vocal, which then makes the vocal arrangement process a lot easier. So if you are producing to something that already has a vocal, make sure you have that from the start. If you're going to be adding a vocal later, before you start even trying to vocal arrange, make sure that you can at least get a demo take of the lead all the way through, so then you can see what the song needs. So I knew that I had that. The next step that I like to do is kind of finish out the full production, and this was produced to a demo that Nick had, so it wasn't, I already knew exactly what he was singing. So basically what I'll do is I will just have the artist kind of send me over a full lyric sheet of exactly what lyrics are going to be in the song, and then what I'll do is, by listening to my production and then listening to the initial demo that they sent with their vocal, I'll go ahead and I'll figure out what and where I want to kind of do with the vocal arrangement. So with this, I like to color code everything so they know. So we had pull up the brakes tonight, put a stop to all that. This is basically the verse right here. And then this is like a B part of the verse where the production builds up. So I knew I kind of want to start with one single vocal, right? So we have a single vocal through all of here. And I'll go ahead and I'll put his lead vocal in so you can kind of hear what the vibe is. So we have this, and one vocal is all I need. We don't have a big arrangement, we don't need a ton of width, and we don't need a ton of depth.
We'll pull on the brakes tonight, put a stop to all this shit.
So we chose to do one vocal there because it's the start of the song. I don't want to open it up balls to the walls with a million things going on, and I just wanted it to be a little bit more intimate. Now, Nick, at his own discretion, decided to do a kind of double Laney style take. You don't have to do this. This is where I kind of like to let the artist have a little bit of their freedom, because creatively, if he wants a sound, he's able to kind of throw that in. So we have this.
Pull on the brakes tonight.
And that is really just adding width and texture. So when he sent that over, all I needed from him was that one lead vocal, but he said, hey, I kind of want a Laney style, you know, vocal in there for a reference. So he sent that double, and we were able to kind of process that to do exactly what he wanted. So now we have this. It's pretty simple, not doing anything crazy.
We'll pull on the brakes tonight, put a stop to all this shit. You're my friend, right?
So I think some of the methodology behind doing a double like this that's kind of consistent throughout is if you want to just add a little bit of width, especially if it's going to be a big arrangement, but also to add a little bit of depth. So Nick has a higher pitched voice. I do as well when I sing. So it's not super uncommon for me to do a double throughout the whole thing, or even do a double and pitch it down an octave, because to me it just adds a little bit of body to a voice that might not be, you know, kind of leaning towards that kind of natural sound already. So we have the lead vocal throughout, we have the double throughout. Those things are basically non-negotiable. So we know everything is at least going to start green, right? So we have Pull Up the Brakes Tonight, Far From Alike. You can see the parts that we left pretty simple. We'll stay in green. Let's go to the next part of the arrangement and I'll kind of show you how and why we start making some different decisions. So now we're going into this B part of the verse. You'll hear the production pick up a little bit, and that is kind of cue for me to change up the vocal arrangement.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say, come pull me close, and then I'll watch you quickly push away. You'll ask what's wrong, but don't believe.
So I know that when we have a production about this size, we have enough width happening, we have some low end happening with that like kind of 808 plucky bass. I know that we're gonna need a little bit extra. So we already have the double, that's staying in. That was Nick's idea. I'm not gonna fight him on that. The next thing that I like to do is if I need a little bit of extra body and especially a little bit of extra width, and we've talked about this on the channel, is starting to introduce vocals on the side. So basically you're going to want to let your artist know that you will need these to be completely separate takes. I can't just take that lead vocal and duplicate it and pan it left and pan it right. I'm going to have phase issues and it's going to cancel out anyway, and it's going to be no good. It's just going to make the center vocal twice as loud. So I have this vocal that's going to be the same exact melody, just sung a different time, panned all the way to the left.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say, come pull me.
And we're going to do the same thing for the right. Typically, I like to kind of work in pairs. So unless it's going to be a harmony that I'm kind of going for like that, you know, like barbershop quartet, where different harmonies are going to be panned different directions, I'll typically at least double everything so I can match that on the sides. So it's just kind of a stylistic choice. If you want that kind of Charlie Puth barbershop quartet, maybe pick a harmony and pan that harmony left, pick another harmony, pan that harmony right. But for this, we're going to basically be doubling everything that we do and kind of spreading it equally. So now we have these two vocals on the side.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say.
And when we put those in the mix with everything, you'll hear that this really does start to add quite a bit of body and a bit of width and texture.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say.
Let me give you a example of what it sounds like without one more time, just so you can compare. I'll flip it on, you'll see it go from gray to pink.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say, come pull me close, and then I'll watch you quickly push away.
So that's kind of some of the methodology and the why of when I like to start adding kind of the lead vocal to the sides, just to give me a little bit of extra depth, give me a little bit of extra width, and give me a little bit of extra texture. So you can see right here that I've denoted this section red. So I needed a triple track of the lead and a double track of the harmony. Let's go ahead and look at what the harmony's doing and kind of why we've added that as well. We've got these harmonies double tracked, and these are panned 80% left and right. So I like to kind of scale in my panning. I'll go 100% left and right with the kind of unison leads, and then I'll go like 80% left and right with harmony 1, and then maybe like 60% with harmony 2, and I'll just scale that in so we eventually get this big wall of sound, and it creates this big, almost like pad with the vocal. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what these harmonies sound like in solo.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say, come.
And just a tip for whenever you're mixing big vocal stacks like this, I like to tune my harmonies and my background vocals a little bit harder, because since they're going to be tucked so far in the mix, you're not going to hear those tuning artifacts. However, you will start to hear it if there's pitch discrepancies. It'll start to just sound like a big gang vocal and not one tight, cohesive kind of pop stack. So we have those harmonies now, and we're adding that because I just felt like with the production scaling up, it's still a pretty simple song. We're not adding in a ton of like counter melodies or anything like that. I thought it would just be good for melodic texture to go ahead and add in a harmony, just to give us a little bit more kind of space with that.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say, come pull me close, and then I'll watch you quickly push away.
So let's go ahead and hear how different that section sounds without doing a vocal arrangement, and then with a vocal arrangement, just so you can see how big of a difference this actually makes.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear.
It's fine. To me, it's just missing a little bit of texture and a little bit of width, so we just add those in and it's no problem. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the next section. You can kind of see that this track will build as we go. As the production builds and as the tension builds, I like to kind of build out the vocal arrangement. So this next section we have highlighted yellow. So yellow for me denotes that it's going to be a triple track lead with double track harmonies in 2 different parts. We kind of covered the first half of that already, right? We covered the double track on the side, introduce harmony number 1 to add melodic texture. So here's what we have for the chorus. It's kind of like a big dropout chorus.
I get mixed signals, touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You called me crying, said you never really felt the same.
So for this, I thought we have this big section where vocals are the star. I would love to kind of create this big Ariana Grande, Charlie Puth-esque vocal stack where the vocals can really feel like their own instrument here, because there's not much else happening. There's a bass pad and a couple synths and these kind of snare rises. But I knew just from the demo right here, this was going to be a spot where we had this vocal shine. So this is why it's so important to have that vocal demo where you can write out this arrangement.
I get mixed signals, touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You call me crying.
When I was producing the song, I heard that section and I said, this is going to be the section for vocals to shine. This will probably be the biggest that it gets, except for later in the song where it's the same section, but we're just building it out for texture. So let's go ahead and take a look at the second harmony that I decided to introduce, just to make sure that this has a little bit of extra something from the part before it.
I get mixed signals, touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You call me crying, said you never.
And you can see, like I said before, these are only panned 50% right and left, so they're not super wide. They are creating that kind of wall of sound, and this just helps them get out of the way of the other things that are happening. If you have everything spread 100% left and 100% right, vocals can get kind of muddy and you can start not being able to kind of discern different harmony parts. And if you have everything in the center, it's not going to create any of that width anyway, so it's kind of a waste. So let's go ahead and take a look at what all of these sound like soloed out.
I get mixed signals, touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You call me crying, said you never really felt the same. Guess out.
He absolutely crushed the vocal performance. I believe he tracked himself. If there was a tracking engineer, I'll ask him to comment on the video and let me know, but I believe he tracked himself on an SM7B. So with him having this vocal cheat sheet, knowing exactly how to go in, I'm not losing things that I would have wished that we had. Where if he only sent me this lead all the way through, I have to do a lot more creative vocal processing and it might cause weird phase issues. It might just kind of not be as big and as full and as wide. Where if I can get everything that I need from the artist, sometimes I'll even get more than I need. I'm able to really deliver that, and it feels like I was almost there during the tracking phase. So that kind of denotes basically how I'll lay this out. We also have a blue section here that I don't know if we used for this song exactly. This is kind of just a template that I'll use for everybody, but that would just be triple track the lead melody. That would be something like this. Let's just say we get rid of these harmonies. And this is again just to create that width, but maybe you don't need that extra harmonic texture from the harmonies.
Late night in my bed, hella drunk, I'm thrown off when I hear you say.
For this, the arrangement was simple enough. I said, screw it, let's go crazy with harmonies. And that pretty much fleshes out most of this vocal arrangement on Nick's end. So with him having this, he was able to just send everything exactly as is. He actually organizes his files a little differently than most people do. He'll organize them when he sends them to me in a folder that says green vocals, red vocals, yellow vocals, blue vocals. And then I can just drag all of those in and I can assign them to my lead tracks, my left tracks, right tracks, harmonies, etc., etc. All that matters is that I have everything that I need and it's decently labeled, so when I'm creating my layout in my DAW, it's exactly how I like it. So that kind of creates that initial vocal arrangement with the artist. That is how I like to do it remotely. I'll basically make sure that I know exactly what the vocals are going to be doing throughout the whole song, get a lyric sheet so I can at least envision it when we have kind of a final arrangement, and then I can go ahead and make some of those decisions. And I like to kind of let an artist have freedom. If they want to do ad-libs, if they want to do runs, if they want to do extra little vocals like that double vocal, I am fine with all of those things. I want the artist to have their final input at the end of the day. What I don't want is I don't want me to drag in whatever they send over without any of my kind of help and guidance, and it just not be nearly enough for the song, because there is nothing that is worse for a timeline and kind of worse for the momentum than having to send an artist back immediately to track more vocals because you didn't get everything that you needed. So with that said, Now we have the vocal arrangement. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the kind of artificial things you can do to help a vocal arrangement. These kind of fall more into like vocal production, but for all intents and purposes of this video, we're going to consider them pretty similar. Sometimes I'll actually go to the lyric sheet and I will lay these out ahead of time. You can see that I have little denotations right here. So if I do something in italics, that's going to be a delay throw on that word or phrase. If I do something in bold, that'll be an artificial harmony. And if I underline something, that'll be a reverb throw after that phrase. I didn't do that with any of these just because he sent the vocals back so quick. I didn't even really have time to have a session where I went back in and pictured that. Once I had the vocals, I basically just got them a little bit of tuning and editing, got a mix on them, and then I was able to start playing around. But these are things that, especially if an artist doesn't send you that many vocals back, can really, really help kind of enhance a vocal arrangement. So earlier we talked about how Nick has a higher voice, right? It's kind of similar to mine, not a ton of low end, definitely sits in his kind of upper palate. So one thing that I like to do is introduce these artificial low harmonies that we've talked about a lot, and I'll kind of just do these on different sections throughout the song to kind of build extra texture. And I'm not going to really go over the chain because we talk about them in a ton of different vocal production videos, but here's where those sound like.
Touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You called me crying, said you never really felt the same. Guess
And having something like that that's not really heard, it's just more so felt, and it's not really counteracting with anything that's already happening, can just be a nice way to add a little bit of extra depth that the vocalist may not either be able to perform, or it just might not be in their wheelhouse where they're able to do it as good as they would need to be able to actually track something like this. So instead of having Nick track this octave lower, where it probably just would have been a bit boring and a bit stale, I did this, added a little bit of extra width with the doubler, and then we have something like this.
I get mixed signals, touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You called me crying, said you never really felt the same. Guess
Another thing that can really help vocal arrangement is introducing things like ad-libs, and that just adds a nice little bit of intensity, especially if you have repetitive parts like this chorus is basically copy and pasted a couple of times. Adding some of the ad-libs in later versions can just make those feel a little bit different, so I'll go ahead and kind of play what those will sound like. So we'll have something in the bridge.
Stay the night, you would cry, I held you close. You were my green eye paradise, I can't say no. Were you unaware, did you care?
And then we've got this little ad-lib back here in the final chorus.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah, it's exhausting.
Doing cool little things like that, again, not super heard, more so just felt, but little ad-libs and little runs and little oohs and ahs can be a nice little bit of vocal arrangement. You could also do something where you kind of pad out like oohs and ahs like a choir. Again, if you're going to do something like that, I would highly suggest kind of notating whatever you need from the artist. I always put a little kind of disclaimer down here of things that I plan to do, that way they know this is not going to be it. Once I've got all of that, that's where I'll start doing the kind of delay throws and the fun little vocal production and stuff like that. This is where I like to have my fun as a producer. As long as they sent enough vocals, I'm able to do these things and it doesn't feel super forced. It doesn't feel like I'm compensating for not having enough vocals. It just feels like I'm doing something a little bit fun.
Pull on the brakes tonight. Put a stop to all this shit.
And then some of the things that I like to do are like on a delay throw, I will, you know, drag the formant or the throat up. Just that way it has a little bit of extra texture. It's not just like a standard delay. It sounds a little bit something like this.
Tonight.
And doing cool little things like that will really, when you send that first draft back to an artist and it's got those cool little delay throws, it's got those extra little oohs and ahs, and it's got that extra vocal processing on some of those harmonies, they'll start to really feel like this is a fully finished, complete song. So when you're going through that vocal arrangement, keep in mind, you do want that lead vocal to shine, but you want to enhance that as much as possible. So let me just go ahead and show you what this, this chorus would sound like if I just told the artist, hey, track your vocal, send me back whatever, and then we'll go from there. Here's probably how it would go.
I get mixed signals, touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You called me crying, said you never really felt the same. Guess I was wrong, you won't believe what this has cost me.
That to me just doesn't sound like a finished record. It sounds like a demo with a really, really good vocal. Once we add some of those extra vocals in, this is, I think, especially in the pop realm, where you're really gonna hit that bread and butter of, okay, this is a finished, fully produced pop song, ready to get mixed and released.
I get mixed signals, touch my face, it's why I gravitate. You called me crying, said you never really felt the same. Guess I was wrong, you won't believe what this has cost me. Yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah, it's exhausting.
So, when you're going over how you want to do your vocal arrangement, again, know what the vocal is going to be. It's so hard to come up with a vocal arrangement when you don't know the lyrics, you don't know the melody. As long as you can know those general things, you can get a lyric sheet like this, you can highlight everything that you might need from the artist, and if the artist has any questions, you can shoot them over a little video for yourself. You can shoot them over this video to kind of walk them through the process. And between this and then our other video on how to record your vocals at home, you should be able to remotely get any of your artists able to engineer, or at least head to an engineer that can get them good vocals, can get them enough vocals for the actual finished production without you having to fly out to San Francisco every time you get an artist out there that needs to track their vocals for a pop record. So hopefully this video helped. That is pretty much everything that I'll do when I'm deciding a vocal arrangement. All right, and that pretty much does it. That is why, when, and how I am putting together a vocal arrangement, especially remotely with an artist. I think Nick is over in California. I'm here in Florida. However, once I have all of these kind of structures and strategies into place, it's really easy for me to make sure I'm getting everything I need. That way I don't have to send the artist back into the studio to do more harmonies or more takes to kind of get the full arrangement that we see fit. So basically, in a nutshell, you're going to want to come up with your kind of strategy of kind of where you need vocals to kind of execute certain decisions within your song, and then you're going to come up with, you know, harmonies and ideas that the artist can kind of use, and then just lay it out really cleanly and really simply, so if you're not there to actually track that session yourself, you're sending the artist in with something that he can give the engineer, or they can read over themselves and make sure that they get you everything you need to actually execute your vocal production and your vocal arrangement within the mix. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys like this, again, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out a ton. If you want to check out more of our other content, you can head over to makepopmusic.com and check out all of our free and paid content over there. And then other than that, if you wanted to hear the song that we used in this video today, you can click that link in the description and help Nick out. Other than that, we will be back next week with another video. Let us know what videos you want to see in the comments down below. And until then, much love, everyone. Peace out.